Once upon a time, in a quiet village, a hat maker lived in a little cottage where his best friend would visit him every day. Brimsby would make the most wonderful hats, and his friend would make the most wonderful cup of tea. Together, they would have the most wonderful conversations. Then, when the hats were finished, they would send them to customers all around the world. This was how it was for many years, until one morning when Brimsby's friend announced he would be leaving to travel far away. You see, he had always wanted to be a sea captain. The next day, Brimsby made his friend a brand new hat. It fit perfectly. Then he wished his friend the best of luck and waved him goodbye. Brimsby worked for many quiet days after that and had many quiet cups of tea. Which didn't taste nearly as wonderful as his friend's cup of tea. It was quiet, very quiet, too quiet, until Brimsby realized he had become awfully lonely. So he decided to set out on a long walk, looking to make some new friends. He wore his favorite hat. After walking all day, Brimsby came to a tree full of birds. He thought the birds would make very nice friends. "Hello!" he shouted up to the tree, but the birds didn't hear him. They were hard at work, shoveling snow from their nest and trying to keep the cold winds from blowing out their fires. Brimsby stood there all day, all alone, just watching the busy birds as the snow fell and the wind blew. Then when it got dark, he returned home through the silent snow. When he returned home, Brimsby made himself a warm cup of not-so-wonderful tea. Then he sat in his chair and he looked out the window, thinking, Then he put his cup down, got out his tools and his hats, and set to work. He worked all night long, measuring and marking and cutting and stitching. When morning came, Brimsby packed everything into his satchel and set off on a long walk. When he got to the tree full of birds, he worked just a little bit more. When he was finished, the birds had new and improved homes. The hats kept the snow from falling into their nest and the cold winds from blowing out their fires. And because the birds had new, safe homes, they weren't busy anymore. "Hello!" Brimsby called up to the tree, and the birds heard him this time. And so the birds and the hat maker talked and talked and talked all day long. They talked about hats, they talked about shovels, they talked about whether lemon cookies tasted better than worms. And when evening came, Brimsby returned home, waving goodbye to his new friends. That night, the birds went to bed in their new homes, where they were safe and cozy and very, very happy. And they weren't the only ones. Brimsby had wonderful dreams of his new friends. From then on, the hat maker would walk a long ways to visit the birds, and the birds would fly over to Brimsby's house. Together, they would have wonderful conversations and wonderful tea. And every so often, they would all take a journey to the neighboring seaside village where the ships would come in to visit an old friend. And together, the large group of new and old friends would share wonderful tea and talk and talk and talk about hats and shovels and ships and how lucky they were to have all met one another.